it would behoove him to hire a few great comics to just tour with him and just write one-liners about all these different people.
I mean,
if he could remember them, I know he likes to go off his own head, but if he could remember a few Hinchcliffe bangers, if he hires Hinchcliffe to take him on the road, do you know how insane that would be?
Yeah, dude.
Hinchcliffe writing bangers for Trump people. Trump was smart. He would hire Shane and Tony Hinchcliffe.
Woody. Now, back in August, Joe Rogan, of all people, had suggested and recommended that the Trump campaign hire comedian Tony Hinchcliffe in order to put out some bangers about Trump's political opponents. Fast forward to several months later, he's a headliner over at the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden. And of course, that led to a lot of controversy because of what he said about Puerto Ricans and other groups as part of his set. So I want to just note that while it's unlikely that Trump was listening to that and took Joe Rogan's advice, it's also true, and it's also been reported, that Trump has been getting advice from his son Barron in regard to his podcasting strategy. So his son very likely is listening to Rogan, and maybe his son gave that recommendation to his father. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about whether the jokes were vetted ahead of time. There was a lack of clarity on that, but now we do have a little bit of clarity. So before we get to that, Cenk, any thoughts?
Yeah, so this guy's famous for being a roast comic. You know, roast comics are interesting, and I'm not gonna sit here and evaluate whether they do the roast right or not. But is this the time for a roast comic a week before the election? You knuckleheads, you idiots. Thank God you were so stupid. So the Trump team is gonna bring this guy on, know that he is going to say the most offensive things, but that's literally his routine.
That is his routine.
Yeah, so this is exactly the problem with the Democratic and Republican Party. Democratic Party will take no chances. They'll run the most insipid campaign you have ever seen, barely reaching any undecided voters.
Snooze fest,
yeah, total snooze fest, barely doing any interviews, can barely do anything outside of talking points. And the Republicans on the other end of the spectrum are madmen, and they're insulting everyone a week before. Oh, the Puerto Ricans are garbage. The black people eat watermelons. The Muslims are terrorists at 2 years old. We hate you all. Are you guys nuts? What are you doing? So him being a comic is not the issue. His jokes are, in that context, is not the issue. Bringing them into this context was Trump's team's decision.
Yeah.
And they did that because they think it's funny to make fun of other people. Well, they might find out soon that it's not so funny.
So Trump is now, he's released a statement. He is totally distancing himself from Tony Hinchcliffe. So, there is an admission of, hey, this was a bad decision. But I also want to just note, I totally didn't recognize Tony Hinchcliffe because I watched the Tom Brady roast, and he was one of the comedians who participated in that. And he was pretty funny. But in that context, it was a roast of Tom Brady. In that context, it made a lot of sense. You knew what you were expecting. As someone who's one of the big acts as a Trump rally during at Madison Square Garden, obviously you run the risk of offending people, and that's exactly what happened. Okay, so.
I'm just sorry, Ann. I'm gonna jump in one thing. So I didn't see that roast, and I don't know this brother, and Jon Stewart speaks well of him, so that carries a lot of weight with me. But having said that, I didn't see any jokes about white people. He just joke after joke, and I've now watched a couple of his sets. I don't know all of his sets, and you guys will send me material. He once did it in 1987. But he can find funny things about hating Muslims, Jews, black people, Puerto Ricans, Asians, etc. White people. At a MAGA rally, wait, who are you roasting at a MAGA rally? Why didn't you roast MAGA? You didn't want to do that, right? Okay, Mr. Brave Comic. So let's just be clear about who this guy is. Anyway, keep going on.
So the Bulwark has some new reporting about whether the Trump campaign vetted his set ahead of time. And there is some indication that that did happen. So according to the Bulwark, he had a joke calling Vice President Kamala Harris a C word. A campaign insider involved in the discussions about the event told the Bulwark, let's say it was a red flag. So they had that red flag. They apparently took that part of his act out. And then what's somewhat surprising is that joke was actually seen as a red flag, and they didn't really see any of the other jokes as a red flag at all. The America Super PAC financed by billionaire Elon Musk recently also released a web ad that repeatedly calls Kamala Harris the C word. Only later does it say that she's a communist. And during a podcast appearance just hours before the Madison Square Garden rally, vice presidential candidate JD Vance repeatedly mocked Harris's laugh, calling it very fraudulent and so off-putting. I should note that the America Super PAC took that ad down. I think they realized, oh, maybe this isn't a good way of handling the situation or putting a political ad out that kind of implies that Kamala Harris is being called the other C word, not communist. But I just wanted to make a quick note about that. Regardless, though, it does seem like Hinchcliffe's jokes were looked at ahead of time. And some people in the campaign apparently felt that it wasn't that big of a deal. Campaign staffers had asked all speakers to submit drafts of their speeches ahead of time before they were loaded into the teleprompter, according to the aforementioned sources. Once the objectionable C word joke was spotted, the sources said a staffer asked Hinchcliffe to strike it. He complied. But here's an interesting component to all of this. Allegedly, those sources also insisted that they did not spot the other objectionable lines in Hinchcliffe's speech prior to him delivering it because they were ad-libbed. So they claim that not all of the jokes were in his script.
Yeah, so first of all, there's a teleprompter and either it was in the teleprompter or it wasn't. So somebody knows the real answer. Now, let me make an educated guess as to what happened here. If their theory is, they say, well, no, we told this guy, take those jokes out, but he ad-libbed them. Well, then why did he agree to take the C word joke out? Because you told him to take that out and he did. So did he ad-lib or didn't he ad-lib? Did you guys edit it? Or my guess is you edited it and you thought, oh, C word's a little too much. But go ahead, make fun of the Puerto Ricans, it'll be really funny. Ha ha ha. By the way, maybe his other stuff is good, but that joke about Puerto Rico was the worst joke I've ever heard.
It seems like there's widespread agreement on that, other than Trump supporters who, in my opinion, are so worried that this is gonna hurt Trump electorally that they're pretending like it's not a big deal and they're getting mad at anyone who thinks it's a big deal. But there are Puerto Ricans who support Donald Trump and they were offended by it. They've been giving interviews in the press. And it seems that Trump realizes that this could actually hurt him and this was a bad idea. And so he's distancing himself from Hinchcliffe and saying, I don't even know who this guy is. You know, somebody put him in the lineup.
Yeah, no, I get you don't know who he is. That's not the question. The question is, do you run a campaign where the staffers would look at it and go, oh, calling Puerto Ricans piece of garbage. Yeah, so funny, I love that. Our crowd will love that and put that guy in. The Democrats would never do that. I mean, as I told you, they're like err on the other side, they're too boring, right? But they're not gonna send people out there to make jokes about like, don't white males suck, the people of Alabama and Mississippi are garbage. They would never do that, never, right? The Republicans do that and they go, oops, oops, we did it again. Yeah, look, if you're asking which party is more hateful, are you being serious? The party that wanted to, Trump said ban all Muslims, Trump said criminals, rapists, etc. He said every hateful thing. And then every excuse I get from all the conservatives I debate is, well, you shouldn't believe him. He's a clown, he exaggerates, he does hyperbole. You shouldn't believe a word he says. Then why are you voting for him if you don't believe a word he says? I believe him. I believe that he doesn't like those people. That's why he staffed his campaign with tons of people who don't like anyone in any other ethnic group, and that's why this happened. So now, let's talk about Elon Musk for a second. Apparently that guy's a moron. So you ran an ad where you were implying that she's the other C word. How stupid are you? You don't think that might, like, the number one liability that Donald Trump's team has is not even the hateful rhetoric. It's that tons of unlikely voters who are women are going to come out because of abortion and how much they can't stand Donald Trump. So you think it's a good idea to imply that she's this other C word? That's the genius of Elon Musk Group? What's wrong with you idiots? Like if I was a Republican, I'd be 10 times angrier at them. And then, okay, oh no, they mean communists, really? Like, I'd love to ask Elon, really, you think Kamala Harris is a communist? Communists want to take away all private property. Kamala Harris.
She's funded by billionaires.
Yeah, she
like
supports
Elon,
billionaires
like
and corporations.
Okay, like Do billionaires fund communists?
Come on, please. I'm asking if people have just this much sense and education about politics. Communists don't believe in private property. Corporations are the exact opposite. They are giant private enterprises. That is who almost all establishment politicians serve, including Kamala Harris. She serves corporations. She doesn't take corporations away. She helps them. Like, that's a real complaint about Kamala Harris. That is a significant problem of Kamala Harris, that she's too friendly to corporate interests. But you think she's a communist? Nah, only the dumbest people. Or I shouldn't say dumb, they're just ignorant.
Well,
so I guess Elon's a total ignorant idiot.
I don't think he's ignorant. I don't think he's an idiot. I think that what Elon Musk was trying to do with that ad is the same thing that Democrats are trying to do to some extent by labeling Donald Trump a fascist, right? It's meant to inspire fear in the electorate and get people to vote against an individual due to that fear. In the case of Kamala Harris, Elon Musk doesn't like her as a candidate. I believe that 100%. He doesn't believe she's an actual communist. He's fear-mongering about her, but he also realized that the misogynistic attacks did not bode well for the Trump campaign when Kamala Harris replaced Joe Biden. Remember, the first reaction you got from Trump's campaign was all sorts of vile, misogynistic garbage, and that was hurting them in the polls. And so I think Musk realized, oh, maybe this ad actually isn't gonna help us, it's probably gonna hurt us, and that's why he took it down.
He's a child, Trump's a child. I mean, we haven't had a competent person run for president since Barack Obama. And you could disagree with Barack Obama, and I criticized tons of his policies, but at least the guy knew how to run a campaign. You know, Jesus Christ, they're both trying to lose. It's like a race in the wrong direction. They're both trying to score in their own end zone. Where's Tim Walz? Tim Walz is
going around, he's doing small rallies and speaking events, but he's not really campaigning alongside Kamala Harris, and I think that's a mistake.
He should be doing 4 to 5 interviews a day. He was the most popular out of the 4 of them. Why are you burying your most popular guy? It's insanity. Neither side wants to win. It's such a maddening race. And by the way, I'll say one quick caveat here. Of all the things we listed, there are 100 horrible things and dumb things, etc. I don't know why they put the JD Vance thing in the same category. He mocked Harris's laugh and saying it was fraudulent and off-putting. That's not a controversial position. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could turn off women voters, but she does have a, like of all the things, I mean, her laugh and that she's a little fake, that's kind of true. So that's not anywhere like calling Puerto Ricans garbage or attacking all women and calling them the C word. I just want to be clear and fair.
Okay, I just find at this point this story to be kind of annoying and tedious. And why do I think that? All of the attention has been paid to a comedian who made a bad joke, who the Trump supporters in the audience did not react well to, didn't laugh at his jokes, didn't like his jokes. But while the comedian is getting all the heat, you have Rudy Giuliani, who literally referred to 2-year-old Palestinians as terrorists, thus justifying their slaughter. He's not a comedian. He was being 100% serious. But no one cares about that because Palestinians 100% dehumanized in American society. So it's okay to put out that vile garbage during that speech.
Anna, you're so right. Let me add one quick thing to it. Why is the press not making a big deal out of that one?
They don't care.
Because it's not a comic. It's not a comic. He meant it. Okay? So the reason is not just the press, but the Kamala Harris team is not emphasizing that. They're saying, can you believe what he said about Puerto Ricans? Well, how about what he said about slaughtering Palestinian children? They're like, yeah, that's okay. Our donors are into that too.
Yeah, I mean,
we're financing it, so that's okay. So that's why the press is like, we don't mind that. Smearing Muslims, attacking Palestinians, and calling for their slaughter. That's Tuesday on cable news. That's Tuesday on the Kamala Harris campaign. So that's why nobody makes a big issue out of it.
Well, the press will make a big deal out of what the Harris campaign notes as a big deal.
Exactly.
And the Harris campaign is not going to point to the abhorrent, disgusting comments from Rudy Giuliani as it pertains to Palestinian civilians and literal Palestinian children, because which administration is currently aiding and abetting that slaughter? It's the Biden-Harris administration. Something to keep in mind.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.